assume the positions.
Rebroadcast. Why does it still say pre-show? Get off of there. Okay. That's back. Let's see if we can get our stream back this way. Live. And you know what? The audio source needs to be added back in. I did save it. Okay, we are broadcasting audio. It's just my laptop is muted. Too many things to check. Sorry about that. Whatever reason, the streaming machine just decided it wasn't going to play right now. All right, we were on the second story in the news segment about TikTok. That's right. I'm trying to remember what our transition word was there. We had a nice transition from something about
speaking of memes, other things. So
all right, we'll go from here.
All right. So anyway, this is a story kind of gets me. This is one of those TikTok things that ended up taking off.
One of those TikTok things.
Do what?
Yeah, it's one of those TikTok things.
It's one of those TikTok things. Well, I mean, like the website.
Spoken like the true old man you are.
Yeah. Get off my internet lawn. No, so TikTok, which I've only signed up for and stayed on it for about 10 minutes. I saw adults trying to stage stupid things so they looked funny.
or dance move after dance move after dance move.
Dance moves, stupid things like that. So anyway, I got rid of it. I figured, hey, TikTok's pretty good about letting people embed stuff into websites. So if it's really funny, those bubble up. I don't have to actually be on the app and just sit there and scroll and look and find them. Anyway, Speaking of which, here's one, and it's kind of funny for what happened, but thousands of scientific studies had to toss out weeks of data because of a 56-second TikTok video by a teenager. So the video from July 23rd is short and simple. It starts off with it opens with a recent Florida high school graduate and self-described teen author, Sarah Frank, sitting in her bedroom and smiling at the camera. She says, "Welcome to Side Hustles. I recommend trying part 1." And the first one she suggests, she says, basically, it's a bunch of surveys for different amounts of money and for different amounts of time on the website prolific.co.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the video got 4.1 million views in the month after it was posted and sent tens of thousands of new users flooding the Prolific platform.
Oops.
So Prolific, a tool for scientists conducting behavioral research, had no screening tools in place to make sure that it delivered representative population samples to each study.
Oops.
Suddenly, scientists used to getting a wide mix of subjects for their prolific studies. Now saw their studies flooded with responses from young women around Frank's page.
Frank's age, not page.
Age, I'm sorry. Well, page or TikTok, whatever. For researchers who rely on representative samples of the U.S. population, the demographic shift was a major problem with no obvious cause and no immediate clear way to fix it.
No, your data's skewed. Congratulations.
You just see a bunch of data coming in all of a sudden. Though not particularly well known, Prolific is part of a small collection of online tools that have transformed the way corporations and scientists study the way people think and act. The first and largest of these research platforms is Amazon's own Mechanical Turk, which was released in 2005 as a general purpose platform for crowdsourcing work on repetitive tasks. I've seen it before where you can submit things and it looks like the computers come back with the options, but actually it's a person replying on the background. And it was quickly revolutionized several research fields. Before Mechanical Turk existed, all social science research had to happen in the laboratory. You didn't need to bring in college sophomores and put them through questionnaires and surveys and whatnot. Like in Ghostbusters, remember at the beginning?
Yeah. I'll try your experimental medication.
That's right. Anyway, anyway, it's funny because their data was skewed where they had like 70%. What was it? Oh, 85% of the participants were women around the age of 21. So you can see they're not getting valuable data in there.
No, not when you're normally getting, yeah. No screening tools on the front end. That's what you get. So let this be a lesson to others that are doing studies and need a wide demographic. My mic boom just decided to collapse in on me.
Oh, did it? And I missed that.
Yeah, comedy gold right there. All right, let's get on with a shout out to the chat room. We don't have too many people. John Miller Jr. got it back up and running.
Oh, did he? Okay.
He said he gave TikTok about 10 seconds.
Yeah. I'm telling you, I saw two like adults, like a married couple, and they were staging a joke, like, what are you doing? Runs in the living room. I'm like, you guys cannot act your way on a paper bag. That's stupid.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, enough about TikTok.
All right, we do the show Sundays, 9:30 Eastern time. We'd love to see you online, Facebook and YouTube. We had Ralph Wengler out there for a little bit. Oh, looks like he's joined us again. We got the stream back. We had a little technical issue earlier, but we'll edit that out of the audio program. You don't need to. You don't need to know that. All right, let's move on to Remember When Then. Make sure I get this right one here so I can fade the music at the appropriate time. There we are. Okay, first story up in the Remember When. What scientists learned when they tried to raise a chimp with a human baby? What could possibly go wrong?
I think I was part of this experience. Oh, no, I'm sorry. That was just my younger brother.
Kind of reminds me of Twins with Danny DeVito and Arnold Schwarzenegger.
That's right.
What's the weirdest thing you learned this week? Well, whatever it is, we promise you'll have an even weirder answer if you listen to the Pop Sci Hit podcast. The weirdest thing I learned this week. It hits Apple, Anchor, and everywhere else you listen to podcasts every other Wednesday morning. Hey, it sounds a lot like my time schedule for my work podcast.
Yeah.
If your new favorite source of the strangest science-adjacent facts, figures, and Wikipedia spirals the editors of Popular Science can muster. If you like the stories in this post, we guarantee you'll love the show. This almost sounds like, what is the history one from iHeartRadio? Bizarre History?
Weird History?
Is it Weird History? It's the one with the picture of Rasputin on the cover. Same group of people that Jonathan Strickland works with.
I think it's Weird History. I thought I had it in here.
I used to have it on there, but I just couldn't keep up. There were too many podcasts. It was one of the ones that got culled when I switched a couple of podcast programs ago.
Right. Got to listen to Dr. Carl, then.
Scientists have long thought that blood has the power to reshape us, to make an old person feel young, an ill person well again, and an agitated person feel calm. Some of the earliest experiments to test this notion, though, did not have stellar results. When Robert Lower developed a crude transfusion technique that he tested on dogs. Did I just jump to another study? I did. Where's the rest of our story?
Is it?
I wanted to read more about the...
Go down, scroll down a little bit.
It was just...
Fact, you can't raise a baby chimpanzee like a tiny human.
I'm not seeing that.
Scroll down just a little bit.
I've got fact, Candyland wouldn't exist without polio.
Go down one more time.
You can't raise baby chimpanzee like a tiny human. Who organizes this site?
I think it had several on there. I'm sorry.
But the top title was that. Why don't you? I don't know.
That's right.
Even the picture at the top, it's like, hey, let's start you on a story and tell you about a podcast.
It's the lead. So you get all the way through the article and you go, oh, there it is.
What a bunch of... I don't like popsci.com already. I like it less than TikTok.
I'm certainly not getting on their podcast.
Okay, back to the story we were trying for now that the music is long gone. Brave psychology couple Winthrop and Luella Kellogg gave this experiment a go in the 1930s. And though it led to some fascinating results, it didn't pan out too well overall. Winthrop, who ran an animal stimuli lab in the Indiana State University and then Florida State University, was intrigued by the case of two wolf children in India whose feral instincts stuck with them for life. He wanted to dig into the question, how much can an infant's environment change its behavior and development? Winthrop couldn't quite test his hypothesis on a young human, so he and his wife took a 7-month-old captive chimpanzee from Cuba to raise alongside their 10-month-old son, Donald. Gua, as the ape was called, received the same care and attention as her sibling and was tested daily for long list, just test after test after test. And while she never learned to speak or babble like a person, her physical growth and motor skills progressed quickly, on par with other chimps in captivity. Donald, on the other hand, began imitating Gua's barks and onomatopoeia, which may have been one reason the experiment ended in just 6 months. Kind of went the wrong direction. Instead of getting a smarter chimp, you got a...
You dumbed down the kid.
Yeah. Come on, what kid didn't like acting like a chimp when they were a kid?
I know, right?
The Kellogg's documented their whole endeavor in their book, The Ape and the Child. There's also a silent documentary that is mostly available online.
Mostly. All right. Yeah, I think I kind of laughed about that. Now, if I went to my wife and when Harrison was born and say, hey, look, I want to dive into this topic. Can we get a chimpanzee and raise along with Harrison? It'd have been like, I don't think the door would have opened and closed fast enough. Either I'd be outside or they'd have been gone. I'm not sure, but wouldn't have happened.
My machine is locked again.
Is it?
Zoom is behaving fine. Wirecast is fine, but my cursor will not move. It's stuck on the browser. Click. Did trackpad just die? What the heck? Craig,
I see the video still going, and you look perplexed.
Yeah, we're still streaming.
Okay.
I am perplexed. I can't move my cursor, which means I can't get to the next story.
You need to charge it? You got a mouse you can flip over there too?
I don't know if... Yeah, it feels like the trackpad I just charged this thing. Well, anyway.
You used it a lot. It's time to get a new one.
Yeah, I guess so. I cannot even scroll through the show notes.
Here, I'll take the next one. How about that?
Someone's gonna have to do something.
Well, you can't even show the image, can you?
There we go. I can cursor down. All right, I can do it. Thank you to the patrons. It's not going to be fun to edit this thing today.
Well, we got one more story in the Remember When.
All right, let's do the patrons.
Wait, we got one more story in the Remember When.
We do. Lord of the Rings was rejected for a Nobel.
Yeah, in 1961.
Oh, okay. Take us to our next story then, Craig.
All right. So when J.R.R. Tolkien's Lord of the Rings books appeared in the mid-50s, they were met with very mixed reviews and unsurprising reception, given that nothing like them had been written for adult readers since Edmund Spenser's epic 16th century English poem, The Faerie Queene, perhaps, which I have not read. At least this was the contention of reviewer Richard Hughes, who went on to write that for width of imagination, the Lord of the Rings almost beggars parallel. I'm sorry, I'm getting hurdy brain trying to figure out what that means.
I'm getting hurdy brain just listening to you, but keep going.
Yeah. So Scottish writer Naomi Mitchison did find a comparison to Sir Thomas Malory's, author of the 15th century, the author, hardly misplaced, given Tolkien's day job as an Oxford Don of English literature, but not of the sort of thing that passes for contemporary writing in the 1950s, notwithstanding the serious application of writers like W.H. Auden for Tolkien's trilogy. No previous writer, the poet remarked in a New York Times review, has, to my knowledge, created an imaginary world and a feigned history in such detail. So Auden did find fault with Tolkien's poetry. In fact, a fact upon which critic Edmund Wilson, there's a bunch of critics in here, seized in his scathing 1956 Lord of the Rings review. Mr. Auden is apparently quite insensitive through a lack of interest in other department, wrote Wilson, to the fact that Tolkien's prose is just as bad. Prose and verse are on the same level of professorial amateurishness.
Stop before you hurt yourself. Stop.
No, 5 years later, the Nobel Prize jury would make the same judgment when they excluded Tolkien's books from consideration. Tolkien's prose, wrote jury member Anders Osterling, has not in any way measured up to the storytelling of the highest quality. So the note was discovered recently by a Swedish journalist, Andreas Ekström, who delved into the Nobel Prize archive in 1961 and found that the jury passed over names including Lawrence Durrell, Robert Frost, Graham Greene, E.M. Forster, and Tolkien came up with the other eventual winner, Yugoslavian writer Ivo Andrić, in an Alson Floods report in The Guardian. The Nobel archives are sealed until 50 years after the award is given. I did not know that. Ekström had been reading through the archives for the past 5 years or so, he says, and this was the first time I've seen Tolkien's name among the suggested candidates. The name appeared on the list chiefly through the machinations of the closest friend and chief supporter, C.S. Lewis. Let's see. Oh, I just scrolled by accident. Lewis, also in Oxford, Wilson sneered, is able to top them all in praise of Tolkien's books. From the first appearance of the Middle-earth fantasy in The Hobbit, Lewis promised to do all in my power to secure for Tolkien's great book the recognition it deserves, as he wrote in a 1953 letter to British publisher Stanley Unwin. Hey, we know some Unwins, don't we? In what might be considered an unethical promotion of his friend's work today. Lewis responded tirelessly to critics of the trilogy, going so far after publication of The Two Towers to pen an essay on the subject titled The Dethronement of Power. Here, Lewis explains the prolix quality of Tolkien's prose, that which critics called tedious as a narrative necessity. I do not think he could have done it any other way. So Tolkien's biggest fan also urged readers to spend more time with the books as promised that rewards would be great. In defense of the second work of the trilogy, he concluded, the book is too original and too opulent for the final judgment on a first reading, but we know at once that it has done things to us. We are not quite the same men, and though we must ration ourselves in our readings, I have little doubt that the book will soon take its place among the indispensables. Excuse me. And so has all of Tolkien's work, becoming the literary standard by which high fantasy is measured, with or without a Nobel Prize. It's kind of amazing nowadays to think that it would have been passed up, and they thought that I thought it was, well, I am no literary, professorial person myself, but
really,
I thought they were pretty awesome. I didn't think anything was tedious to read, or I enjoyed it. Have you read them?
Oh yeah, several times.
Yeah. I was just started reading The Hobbit again because of Frodo and Bilbo's birthday the other day. reminded me to, I'm going to pull up Hobbit and go watch it, read it some more. So I love these books. I love them. I read them in high school, and I read them again, each one when the movies came out. And I cherish the movies as well. Maybe not so much the Hobbit ones, but
I don't know, but I thought I had them on Audible. I'll have to go check.
Yeah.
All right.
Great.
Should we thank our patrons now?
Why not?
Sure.
Let's do that.
Thank you to our patrons because they keep this show going. Apparently, one of you forgot to charge my trackpad, but we'll keep going. We couldn't afford the electricity for the trackpad. Thank you, Alexis Duran, Amber Elstad, Amy Bowen, Avner Braverman. Thanks, Ben Vaughn, Brian Brown, Chris MC, Dandy Man Coyer. Thank you, Dean Jensen and Denise Inglis and Gary Lindros, Harold McKinstry, John Clifford, John Noble, Yorga Shrawin, Thank you to Christina and Kyle Nishioka, Leon, Mark Kilfoyle, Mike Wills, Chris Martinez, Saturday Morning Media, Stephen Weshy. Happy birthday to you, buddy. Steve Therian, Steve Cody, and the one who wrote us an email earlier, Sweet Steve London from Sweden. Thank you, everybody. If you want, you go over to patreon.com/Technorama podcast, and for as little as $1, we will give you a shout out, and we'll give you special content that nobody else in the entire universe has custody to. Patreon.com/Technorama podcast. $1 a show. In fact, we missed last week for personal reasons, and we didn't produce a show. You didn't owe us $1. So that worked out pretty well for everyone, I think.
That's right.
But we will have more coming up in the upcoming weeks or months. So let's fade that out. Kill that. Bring that back. And lost my cursor. Come on.
Where's it at?
Oh, you know what? That's because I'm not on Chrome. There we are. Next thing up is Pass the Remote.
Hey, is this your first time using a computer? Yeah.
All right, what have you been watching?
So this, I think it was this week. Let me see what date it came out on. September 22nd, which would have been this last week. Star Wars Visions came out on Disney Plus. And what it is a retelling, or not even retelling, but it's different takes on the Star Wars universe in anime. So there's 9 episodes, and I think I'm trying to remember how many. Is it 6 different studios? A couple of them did 2 different. I was trying to look at the list here. There's 9 episodes, and a couple of studios did 2 episodes. I'm sorry, a studio did 2 episodes is what I was getting at. So each one is a different take on the Star Wars universe. So there, like example, there's one called The Duel. Of course, it's focused on a lot of sword fighting. Well, all these had sword fights in it. And a lot of them look like traditional Japanese swords.
Mm-hmm.
It looked fantastic. And they all had a different visual style. One of them was mostly black and white until they pulled the sabers out, and the sabers were all color. That was the first one, and I think they led with the stronger of them. At least for me, I'm not saying none of them were bad. I enjoyed all the episodes. I'm no huge anime, connoisseur, but this is fantastic. So I would suggest that you go check this out. Again, there's 9 episodes. Like one of them's called The Twins. And it was a different take on Leia and Luke and their relationship. Then there was one where the robot's name was TO-B1. So TOB1.
2B1.
Get it? And then there was one called The Elder, which I thought was really good too. So their take on the Sith was also interesting. So I don't want to give it anything away, but yeah, some of the ones that had Sith in there, I love the way they portrayed them. I thought it was really cool. So anyway, go check it out.
Yeah.
Star Wars Visions on Disney Plus.
The other one that I got into, well, I don't know what compelled me to do this. It looked like it was going to be one of these true crime history things, kind of like the Stephen Avery Making a Murderer thing on Netflix.
Right.
This was different though. It started out as a story like that. It's called The 24 Faces of Billy Milligan. It's actually called Monsters Inside the 24 Faces of Billy Milligan is the subtitle. And it's about dissociative identity disorder, also known as multiple personality disorder.
Okay.
It's one of these 4-part series. They're about an hour long. I finished the first 2. And I've got 2 more to go, so I'm curious to see where the story leads. And I never heard of this story. It took place in 77, 78. If you've watched or read the book Sybil, that was popular about that time as well. Some of the authorities on the multiple personality, as they used to call it, were involved in this case. So it's fascinating because it turned out different than I was looking at. It does have that Netflix kind of vibe to it, where they're looking at something that happened 40 plus years ago. But I don't know, this kind of stuff interests me. I like the true crime stories, and this one had a different angle on it.
Hey, I'll tell you something else we've been watching, and it's been coming out once a week. I know a lot of people have been watching this, but my wife and I have been watching Only Murders in the Building. So if you haven't seen that, you might enjoy it. It's Steve Martin, Martin Short, and Selena Gomez, and they're investigating a murder that happened in their New York, building.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really entertaining, I have to tell you. And of course, national treasures Steve Martin and Martin Short, especially when they work together, are awesome. So this show is really good. So I think there's about there's a handful of episodes left. So it's on Hulu.
All right. Good. Let's go to, I think we just got a couple of things in the Geek Library, so we'll play the theme quickly. Not going to get too deep into these, but the smallest human ever, the smallest ever human-made flying structure is a winged microchip.
Smallest human ever. I like that. I like the sound of that better.
The smallest human ever. Smallest ever human-made flying structure.
Okay.
And we also have another link to How Meme Detectives Stop NFT Fraud. Ooh.
Now, this is from Wired Magazine, or Wired, I guess, it's online.
Yep.
But, NFT is the technology, kind of like we're using blockchain to verify verify ownership of certain digital properties,
right? Such
as some of these memes. And some of them have actually sold the rights to these pictures, because they are these people's pictures, for lots of money. And it's kind of funny, interesting to sell digital images like this, but they're doing it. Matter of fact, the little you've seen the Fire Girl, right?
Don't think I have.
You haven't seen that one either? Where have you been online for the Well, it turns out
we had this discussion about Facebook, right?
Huh?
We had this discussion about Facebook.
Yeah. Well, anyway. So anyway, the Fire Girl picture, is a guy I know. He lives on the side of North Carolina, near the coast. That's his daughter. He took that picture. There's a house fire in the neighborhood, and she's standing there. I think it was even a staged fire. How they sometimes do. And they took that picture. She's now in college, or she just leaving college.
I thought that was a
picture for $500,000.
I thought that was a frame from the movie Charlie.
No.
You sure?
Yes, he owned that picture.
The one with the little girl.
No, you're thinking of Firestarter.
Oh, the girl's name was Charlie. It's the actress. Oh, I'm drawing a blank. What's her name? She was. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about.
Looking right at her. Drew Barrymore.
Drew Barrymore. Yeah, that's not Drew Barrymore from Firestarter.
No, it is not.
I always thought that was.
No.
Okay, I know which meme
photographer.
You're talking about.
I know he's been kind of in my circles online for a long time, and that's his picture, and they sold it, and to pay off for college and stuff like that. So it's been used 1,000,000 times, man. Anyway.
Well,
I just think it's a fascinating thing. And so this video is talking about the people that are tracking down frauds. Somebody that doesn't actually own this photo and is trying to sell it through NFT. So it's an interesting video. You can imagine trying to track down the digital traces of where was this used first, who owns this picture,